welcome to the Paranormal Zone, a podcast dedicated to giving a voice to the paranormal community that can come on and tell their stories without interruption or judgment. So, welcome this evening. We have a great guest coming on this evening. In the interest of full disclosure, not only is a great guest, but he's like a brother to me. This individual has dedicated his life to not only the research about Bigfoot, but what we'll talk about in a while is the protection of Bigfoot. And that has as much to do with his dedication as the research does. So help me welcome Jason Morse, Bigfoot expert. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it.
It's nice to have you back. And I know Tom said to me today in a pre-show meeting how excited he was to be back talking to you about Bigfoot.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Let's start off with, we've talked to you over the years many times, but let's start off with a question. In your experience and your expertise, what do you think the origins of Bigfoot is? Tough question.
That is such a wiggly web to crawl across. I think it all started off with Gigantopithecus blacki, who was a 10-foot tall orangutan-looking ape from 500,000 years ago, I believe. I think it just spawned off of that.
Right.
It became less ape-like and more human. Bob, your guess is as good as mine, because nobody has the answer to that.
No,
right.
Jason.
I'm just theorizing.
Okay, Jason. I have
Sure,
a question.
I understand. I got it.
That's all this field really is: the paranormal, the UFO, and cryptids. It's all about a lot of its theories, and every team, and every group, and every human in this field has its theories. I just recently saw on, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong about the Facebook site, Ancient Aliens, I believe, just had, and I know not everything on Facebook is accurate, okay? We all know that. I mean, if you believed everything on Facebook, we wouldn't be here today, okay? They just found a few years back, but it's on Ancient Aliens page and a few other pages. They found these gigantic human-like burials somewhere. I didn't get into it much because I would have been a busy week at the studio. We have a lot of stuff going on here at the studio, and being the board president and the interim executive director, I've got a lot of stuff going on. Did you see any of that stuff online about that?
Yeah, they call them the giants.
Okay, you think that has any ties to Bigfoot at all?
Once again, I mean, I am a believer, but I still feel as though I want to be scientific, and I don't feel comfortable just saying things that I'm not sure about.
Right.
No problem at all. We like that.
I got plenty of things that I'm sure about.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I'm not sure,
you're not.
I don't want to become one of those.
I get it.
Maybe.
And I'm sorry about asking you that question. Sorry about that.
No, it's perfectly okay.
Well, I think, too, that you have to understand where our listeners are coming from, correct? Most of our listeners, the demographic base is, frankly, people that have interest in this, but don't do a lot of self-research and everything else. So they look to people like us, and I think Jason's point is very valid, that they have to understand 90% of what you get from us is opinion. Would like to think we all research things, Jason, as much as we can. But again, when we go back more than 3,000 years, I think all the data that you have and information gets skewed, confused, You can use whatever adjectives you want. So I'm not sure that there's ever going to be total proof of most of the paranormal subjects.
I would honestly be very surprised.
Yeah, I would be too. I think it's going to take somebody that has a much higher knowledge, if that's out there, of how this Earth formed, how this Earth developed. I think we're talking in Bigfoot's case, migration, because if you look at the numbers that we document today, the largest sightings of Bigfoot in 2023 appears to be in California. And I believe the numbers were 283 confirmed sightings. And we're going to talk a little bit with you, Jason, about what is confirmed and what isn't. But if you look at Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, and Massachusetts, there were 38 confirmed sightings. So there has to be a migration pattern that existed between at least California and New England.
Jason just said something. Can you repeat what you just said, Jason, please? Jason.
Well, I'm middle-aged. I guess I forgot what I said.
Oh, okay. He was talking about the different migration between California and New England. There were more sightings in California than New England.
Oh, and yeah, I just agreed with Bob.
Oh.
I said it's very true that there are way less sightings in New England than California, Oregon, Washington. Because, I mean, part of it is people just aren't looking.
Oh, good point. Good point. I think also for an animal or a being, if we define it as a being, to migrate that far on foot and through wilderness would at least seem to me to thin out the population just through attrition.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
You know, a family of Bigfoots leaves California with a family of 5. How many can you expect to survive that trip in the elements and the wilderness and everything else and entering new territory? So to me, those numbers weren't really out of whack at all. What surprised me, Jason, was, frankly, if you looked at New England, the 4 states at least, 38 confirmed sightings, I think is a lot.
Well, for this area, yes, it is. I will agree.
Yeah.
However,
so as an investigator and a researcher yourself, how would you define confirmed sightings?
Oh, I would never feel as though I had the power to confirm or, well, I've debunked numerous, but I don't know if I have the knowledge to confirm any. I mean, I see what I see. I mean, if it's realistic, then I'm all over it.
Yeah. Tom, question for you. How would you confirm a sighting or a UFO abduction? How would you confirm it?
Well, the best way to confirm it is pull out your phone and get a picture of it. But the reality of it is you're shocked when you first see it, especially if you're driving. So a confirmation would be getting out of the car and seeing if you could find a footprint, a busted tree, or something that would confirm what you saw there.
Right.
Thank you, Tom.
And the other thing is, we got to look at the bigger picture with Bigfoot. You said California had the most confirmed sightings, correct?
Yes.
Well, you know, the most...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's look at 2 things, okay? California does have mountains like New England does, okay? But Vermont, which is the smallest state in the Union, okay?
Yep.
Years ago, I have this video called Over New England. Okay? Are you ready for this, everybody? I hope you're all sitting down. If you flatten out the mountains of Vermont, it's bigger than Texas.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So, because remember, you get the mountain range going through the whole state of Vermont. And they're pretty, there's a lot of 2,000, 3,000 footers over there. And I believe there might be a 4, but I'm not sure because I don't know the mountain that well up there. But we have a lot of mountain ranges in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Maine believe it or not, does have a mountain section.
You know, after
a lot
all
of
the
people
time that
can't walk
I'm
those
sorry to
mountains.
interrupt, but
Yeah.
I'd like to say that after all the time I've spent out in the woods, I have never really thought about it that way.
Oh.
And I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And not only that, our flatlands. Let's look at our flatlands in the northern woods. I've been going up to Ossipee, New Hampshire since probably the fall of 94. We're now 2025. Okay? I don't go up there as much as I used to. But let me tell you, there's a lot of development on Route 16. It's not open space anymore.
No, I mean, we're infiltrating their habitat, and it's scaring them away, is what I believe.
And they're probably heading over the border at this point.
I would hate to, but have to assume that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, another issue with development in progress would be, I'm sorry.
Okay, what's the issue with development in progress, Bob? Sorry.
Well, if you take a rural area like southern New Hampshire and we're going to build and develop, we drive habitat really into the public domain versus further into their woods because we're losing property. Whereas you get up into the mountains and you start developing from highways like 16 in, you really drive habitat further into the forest.
Correct.
So the further into the forest you drive habitat, the less you're going to see of them. So let's take something that we've all seen, because we're all basically New England people here, and our listeners are based in New England mostly. But you're going to see less and less moose. You're going to see less and less deer because we're driving them further into the woods. So if Bigfoot has a tendency, and I believe he does as a complete novice here, but I do believe Bigfoot hides intentionally. I don't think necessarily deer and moose and maybe bear hide from the public intentionally, but I think Bigfoot does. I think it has the intellect to not want to interface with people.
I agree 1,000%.
Yeah. Now that may be because of its origins, right? If Bigfoot, somewhere thousands of years ago, cohabitated with, let's follow Tom's question, giants, if you will, then this could be a crossbreed between human and animal that has developed an intelligence level, a larger brain, and has the ability to understand how to self-protect itself.
I agree with that, but if I could add a little something.
Absolutely.
They have been victimized by people. I mean, look at all the reports of them being shot at and their habitat being reduced like it has been.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why wouldn't they want to be seclusive?
It's an interesting scenario, Jason. You know, if you look at a bear, especially a grizzly, they attack people, right? People have over thousands of years scared them into knowing that that's your enemy.
Right.
And yet Bigfoot, which says a lot about the species, is saying they're my enemy, but I don't want to attack. I want to get away.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's pretty much what
Which
it's all
drives me to
about.
think it's more human thinking.
Right.
And I'm going a little bit off topic here, but all these movies about like killer Bigfoot, it's laughable.
Oh no, it is. I agree.
Because that's not the way it is.
No.
I mean, I'm sure in the South, I have heard numerous reports of them attacking people, but that's because of hot, humid weather, pests like ticks and fleas and, whatever else. But in the upper U.S., you never hear anything about attacks.
No.
Like from Maine through Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin,
Canada.
over to Washington and California and Oregon. You never hear about attacks anymore.
No. And the shows didn't help. Like, who were those guys down south there where they built those traps and they shot out in the woods? It sounded like a bunch of idiots.
No, I forgot the name of the show because it was so forgettable.
It was. I mean,
Most of them were heavy-set, bearded fellas.
Yes. First of all,
Yeah.
I've hunted. And the first rule of hunting is identify what you're shooting at. You shoot out in the woods at pitch black nighttime. You don't know if some kid's running around out in those woods.
Yeah, well, honestly, I never, and for years now, ever since I was back, oh God, this is 2025?
Yes.
Oh God, it was like 12 years ago. I mean, after I saw Goliath, I was out in the woods and I was surrounded by a pack of coyotes, and ever since then I have never gone in the woods without a sidearm. Just because,
Yeah.
I love animals, but I am more important than them to me.
Right, but you went out hunting Bigfoot. You're out there just to protect yourself from the pack of coyotes or the mountain lion or God forbid, a running moose that, you can't get out of its way.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I would never just hurt an animal just because it was there. I mean, I would do it to protect myself, and that's it.
Right.
And you know what, Tom? Let me inject something here because we use the word you were out hunting. I know Jason Morse for almost 15 to 20 years, I guess. And I'll tell that story in a second if our listeners are interested. But I will guarantee you, knowing Jason like I do today, he has never hunted Bigfoot. He's looked for Bigfoot because he researches Bigfoot, but he is a protector of Bigfoot, maybe the most important protector, certainly in New England, maybe the United States, because I've watched him work. I had the pleasure of going on 2 Bigfoot research trips with him and his team at the time, and they were the most professional, compassionate people I've ever met since then. So I just want to clarify, he was never hunting Bigfoot.
No, he was out researching it.
Correct.
I appreciate that, Bob. Thank you, buddy.
All right, pal. So let's go to this then, talking about Bigfoot. Do you think that the lack of evidence, Tom and Jason, I'll ask you both this, the lack of evidence about Bigfoot is a good thing?
Man, that's a double-edged sword. I mean, we've spoken before about how I fear what would happen if Bigfoot was found to exist.
Hmm.
I just don't think it would be a good idea.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, we can all still go out and, communalize with them, but we don't have to blab it all over the place. Let's go have moments with them. If we could be so lucky, and just keep it to ourselves.
Yeah, and I think in this case, keeping it to ourselves is better, because what we don't
full on with the crypto crew, and I've told Thomas Markham this, that I don't think that he should really be proven to exist. I mean, it's been my passion for 14 years now. But the fallout wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah. And do you feel, Jason, that your work's not over?
I'm sorry?
Do you feel that your work with Bigfoot is not over?
Oh, God, no. It's not over.
Wonderful thing to have that kind of a goal in life.
Bob, any of us in this field?
For me, it's more to prove it. Even more to me, and to see how far it could go. And it's not trying to be famous or rich or, any of that BS. I mean, I wanted to do it for myself. And I believe that's what makes the Crypto Crew research team unique, because they don't care about fame or fortune. Neither do I.
Yeah, it's a life stream, and more important, a life's goal.
Yeah. 100%.
Interesting. I'm sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
Any of us in this field, if you're researching anything in this field, from UFOs to ghosts to cryptozoology, whether it's Bigfoot, Birdman, and the countless other cryptids out there, our research is never done. It'll be done when we're looking up at daisy roots.
I'm sure that's when mine will be done.
Unless we can figure a way to come back.
Yeah.
To help.
Yeah, you know what, Tom?
Field.
Yeah, when I'm done, I don't want to come back. Okay. just let me go out to wherever I'm going.
I feel as though I'll be like Igor Burtsev and I'll be 90 and still doing it.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to do it.
Well, it is.
And then with
it's
me,
the one.
When I go to Maine,
go ahead, Tom.
When I go to Maine, I'll come back.
Yeah.
Now, why did I say would I go to Maine? Maine and Colorado would be the place I'd end up at.
Yeah.
Anyone know why?
No.
Because I can come back.
Because you can come back to Colorado or Maine?
No, you can come back after you die.
Oh, well,
Maine,
that's certainly a...
Maine and Colorado are the only two states that allow you to be buried like a Jedi.
Oh, geez.
Or, better known, a Viking.
Okay.
We
How does
gotta
a
put
Jedi...
some laughter into this thing, that's all.
Yeah. How does a Jedi get buried?
What?
How does a Jedi get buried?
Yeah, they were cremated, yes.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, viewers, you're a little screwed. You want to come back from that.
There you go.
I just thought I'd throw a little lightheartedness into the conversation.
I love it. Yeah, because we were going down a pretty serious road there for a minute.
Right. Now let's get back to the serious stuff, folks. Sorry about that one.
So in the state of Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, let's deal with New England because we're all used to that. Do you get a lot of requests, Jason, for people that want to attend a Bigfoot research day or weekend or something?
Yeah, I've had a few.
Yeah.
I mean, you know me, and we've talked about this. I'm just not comfortable with
Images.
Well, I don't want to say it that way, but yes. My biggest thing is safety.
Yep.
And I mean, I see so many times people going out with flip-flops and board shorts, and that's not the way you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And be safe.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because in the mountains, you never know when the weather's going to change.
Yeah. There's the weather, predators.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been lucky.
Or smart.
I mean, I came across that pack of coyotes, but I've never, not even once seen a bear out in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I've seen one moose, and I've never seen a mountain lion. But,
And yet we know they exist.
Right.
Right? So when people say, and they say this to us all the time in presentations, well, if Bigfoot existed, why wouldn't more people see them?
Right, and then you ask 20 people in the room, how many have seen a deer? Maybe 5 will raise their hand, or 6. How many have seen a bear?
Correct.
If you're lucky, 1. How many have seen a moose?
Correct.
If you're lucky, 1.
Correct.
My response to
Absolutely
that
correct.
is, I know many, many people who are avid hunters. They hunt deer, bear, moose, turkey. I mean, you name it. If it's on the menu,
They're hunting.
they will hunt for it. And they're like, I ain't never seen no Bigfoot. I was like, well, because you're not looking for it. And that's a very
And maybe it's not looking for you.
Creature to find.
Mm.
It's not just a stupid turkey walking across a meadow or a deer grazing or, whatever.
I understand that. But is that your turkey rice stuff?
Yes. Yeah, it's soup that Mom made for me.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, guys.
That's all right.
It's okay.
Where are we going with this Bigfoot thing now?
I'm
Now,
not really sure.
how many...
Back to the whole being middle-aged thing.
It could be, yeah. How many... What's the best way of putting this now? Do you think Bigfoots travel in families or they travel solo?
Families went on vacation.
I 100% believe they travel in clans, which is a family unit. Adult male, adult female, offspring.
And that would certainly, Tom, prove evidence of its existence today. I think if Bigfoot migrated just a male or just a female, you wouldn't have the reproduction of Bigfoot 1,000 years later, whatever the number is. We don't know what that is, but that's why I agree with Jason. I think we probably would find that it travels in a clan. Which would also, by the way, Tom, think about this. if you have and Jason, please pop in here and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have an intelligent species like I believe Bigfoot is, then traveling in a clan would get you to go deeper into protective habitat, because you're protecting just like I think animals do with their young. But most like a deer or bear, they cut their cubs, their does loose, and at some point they go survive on their own. If Bigfoot's clan is more of a human-thinking clan, they're protecting their young well into their maturity days. So I think that's why they are so elusive, that they're further and further into the habitat to protect that clan.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes sense.
Well, again, you have to buy into, are they a thinking, a rationalized thinking type of a species? Moose on Route 16 every so often becomes visible from the road, right? Now, I know people, or at least I hope people don't shoot them from the road or their car or something.
That's illegal.
Yeah, but no, I know that. But I'm saying that the species itself, or turkey, doesn't have the intelligence to bury itself deep in the forest, never to be seen. And I think that's an important point about Bigfoot, that it has. I know. Let's talk about the Magruder tape.
You there?
Yeah. The Magruder tape, is that the name of it, Jason? The Magruder tape?
I am not
the tape that was taken of the Bigfoot.
The 1970s film, the tape?
Yes.
I believe I believe you're right. I think he's right. If I remember, my brain is serving me right on this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's Magruder, but
with the Patterson footage.
Oh, Patterson, that's it.
Yeah, the Patterson Gimlin footage. Yeah.
1967.
67.
Yeah, and the Patterson footage has never been debunked.
And they just can't do it.
They just can't do it, and certainly experts have tried. Kind of similar to UFOs. The experts on the government side of that equation doesn't want us to believe that, so they're trying to debunk everything that they possibly can. And we're always going to see that in the paranormal or in Bigfoot or UFOs. That's just part of culture. But it's never been disproven. And when you look at that, there is no doubt in my mind, looking at that film, and I looked at it yesterday again, is the fact that that is a Bigfoot. There's no doubt about that. I know that if we had open lines, we'd have a bunch of callers calling us saying, no, that was somebody in a gorilla suit and the whole 9 yards. But again, for every person that disbelieves in it, there's two people that believe it. But when we look at that film, that I hate to call it a creature, but that being is in survival mode.
No, you're right about that, Bob.
They're not attacking.
No.
They're surviving.
One of the best mammalian. Oh wait, how do they? I forget now how they say his title. He's a mammalian. I don't want to get it wrong.
Yep.
He studies animals' movements.
Okay.
And he is probably the best in the world, and he's never been able to prove this wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He said a human's limbs could not move the way that subject's legs moved. And again,
Right.
I've said to Bob before, who would have thought to make that thing female? Because it had obvious breasts.
Right.
I mean, that just doesn't make any sense.
Right. Right.
Back in the late 60s, no one would ever have thought. I mean, because everybody, usually you say Bigfoot and they think he. So who would ever make that switch to that subject being female? It's just, it doesn't make any sense.
Right. It doesn't.
Which
add up.
makes more sense to me, strangely enough.
No, that makes all the sense in the world, Bob.
So, Jason, in your research, and you've been doing it for many years, have you ever encountered a Bigfoot?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
On 4 separate occasions.
Wow. Wow.
One was fairly obscure.
Yeah.
I was just having crap thrown at me, like pine cones and acorns and stuff like that. But I've seen one that I believe was the same one on 3 separate occasions.
So do you think that Bigfoot is intelligent enough to know why you're there versus a hunter?
I don't know if I would go that far, but
Yeah.
I believe that they are aware whether or not you mean them harm.
Interesting.
And I believe this one realized that I did not.
Right.
And plus, I was with my dog at the time, and there's a age-old story about Bigfoots, for whatever reason, not liking dogs, but they hang around with coyotes.
Wow. Huh.
I'm not sure.
Oh. Now, did your dog react to the Bigfoot?
Oh, yeah.
Barking
yeah,
and...
he locked onto him before I even saw him.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the dog I had at the time, he's left me now, but he was a golden retriever. He was not very brave. And he smelled something and saw something that terrified him.
Yeah.
He was shaking all over, and that's like in the movie Bigfoot Witness, Jason Moore's story. I describe it in detail. I just lined myself up with him and looked to see what he was looking at and took a picture.
Wow.
And I always say that's the day that I was born, because that was my first face-to-face sighting with Bigfoot, even though it was a long ways away.
Yeah. So Bigfoot seems to have the ability to at least recognize when somebody is threatening them. And I think to think about them hanging around with coyotes, you have to then buy into the fact that they have some sort of a communications. I mean, not to shift gears here, but let's look at dolphins. Way back in the 60s, there was research that dolphins had their own communications system, to a point where the military at one point tried using them for, undercover work, right, to bring back messages. They couldn't quite decipher the whole thing. But So is it a quantum leap, Tom, to think that high intellectual animals such as a Bigfoot or whatever else category you want to put that in could communicate that way and have understandings of people's intent?
I believe that to be true because there's been recordings made of alleged Bigfoot speak. I mean, it's a fast, garbled mess, but I've never heard anything like it before.
Which is their way. And look at dolphins again, Mike. Their communications with each other is mess. Whales are another thing they say can communicate with each other. And when you hear a whale, it's very distinctive in what it's doing.
Yep.
Very distinct. So to the issue of them throwing things. Now, Tom, I don't know if you've looked at this that deep, but in every research I've looked at in where Bigfoot's concerned, where there's been any kind of contact, even non-sightings type contact, what you said earlier, Jason, was that they threw pine cones and stuff. Is that a way of them asking you to back off, or is it a way of them trying to communicate with you?
Right. I think it's the way they try to communicate with you.
Oh, sorry, Tom, go ahead.
I think it's the way they try to communicate with you.
Agreed.
So they're actually trying to draw attention to them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've had enough reports of them throwing beach ball-sized rocks at, kayaks or canoes or whatever, or just at somebody randomly.
Right.
I mean, if they're going to throw something like a pine cone or an acorn, frankly, I believe that's play. I think
they're just playing.
Just losing themselves.
Well, that would make sense. That would make sense because it's fairly non-aggressive if you're throwing an acorn or, a pine cone or something soft. Whereas if they're throwing a boulder of any size, they're asking you to back off or they're threatened. And that could very well be, Jason, when they have their families with them, that's their way to protect the family definitely against you advancing any further.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if they wanted to be aggressive, an adult male could throw a tree at me.
Exactly.
I was getting bombarded with pine cones and acorns and little tiny sticks.
Yeah.
I think that I was the punchline of some kind of joke.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they claim that Bigfoot ranges anywhere from 12 to 15 higher feet, which is probably, at least in New England, one of the largest land creatures, beings, that we have. I'm not sure, Tom, a bear has ever been measured at 15 feet. Tom?
Well,
did we lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay. I don't think a bear has ever been measured standing up at 15 feet, has it?
No.
Yeah. So it's fair to say that... Go ahead, Jason.
But frankly, Bob, I just don't think that they get that big around here. I mean, Goliath he was a monster. 9.5 feet tall.
Whoa.
And I would be pretty shocked if any more of them got much bigger than that. I could be wrong. I don't know. But
yeah,
I mean, he was a beast. He was so huge. I mean, it literally would just tingle my spine thinking about it.
Wow.
Yeah. And of course, one of the things that we don't know, because there's a lot more than we don't know than we do know about them, is that because you don't see them and they're so deep into the forest, we really don't know what their culture is. I mean, a lot of this is speculation on their size and what they think about. And again, I think that the crypto crew, which I want to talk to you about in a minute, but the crypto crew has been dedicated to this research for a lot of years. How long has the crypto crew been intact, Jason?
Oh, I've been a member since, well, I had my sighting in 2012.
Wow.
And I believe that was right around the time that I became a member.
Yeah.
So 13 years so far.
So tell us a little bit about the crypto crew.
They're the greatest bunch of people. They're all just so dedicated, and I mean, pretty much all of us are just small town folk. Like,
Interesting.
I mean, we
are
got
they
Tom
local?
Malcolm, who's the founder. He lives in Hulen, Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
One of the greatest people that you will ever know or ever want to know. He's such a good guy. We got Bobby Long and his wife. They're in Washington State. And we have a ton of new members. And I'm sorry to them, but I can't list them all off.
Right.
We have a bunch of new members. But those are
well, we'd like to
Thomas
invite.
has the most seniority, and
Yeah.
Bobby and his wife they're right up there too.
Yeah. Well, listen, Tom and I would like to invite them on a future show, and have them tell us about Crypto Crew, and because it sounds like it's a national organization, so we could learn a lot from them, and would enjoy hearing them. Certainly, we could figure out how to have you on with them. So if you're talking to them, they'd like to come on the Paranormal Zone, would love to have them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't. You know, I'll give you my certificate of authenticity. Let them know you're a good guy, and you too as well, Tom.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, they're great people.
Well, no.
Yeah, wonderful.
It sounds like a great crew of people. We got a few minutes left. We can go a little over, a little under. Usually a little over. I don't like going under. What? Oh, you there? Oh, there we are.
Yep.
All right. So, have you actually? I know you said earlier on our other show we talked about this once before. But how many times have you actually seen a Bigfoot? And when was your first time?
My first time was March 8th, 2012. It was 3:12 p.m. I was walking my dog on the road that I lived on, Ash Swamp Road in Newmarket, New Hampshire. And we were just walking along, and Midas, my little fuzzy buddy, just froze. Started shaking, whimpering. I mean, he was scared.
Wow.
So like I said, I lined up, looked down his back, and looked to where he was looking at. And I saw something. And it was kind of knelt down on the backside of a little tiny knoll, like out in the swamp. And Whew, getting goosebumps now. No, he poked his head up, looked at me, and I was about ready to, like, give the dog a tug because I didn't know if it was a bear or what.
Right.
And, you know, I don't want to mess with that.
No.
I looked down at the dog, just about ready to give the leash a tug, tell him to come on. We were going to, like, jog back to the house. And I happened to look back over my shoulder, and he stood up. And he took like 3 or 4 steps away from me, and I never saw him again.
Wow.
Until the next time I saw him.
In the same area?
And he never made a sound.
Wow. In the same area?
Yeah. Yeah,
When
I saw him first, I was about a mile from where I lived. And I saw him 2 more times at my house. One time he was going
now Newmarket's fairly popular. I mean, population-wise, right?
Well, I mean, I guess moderately. I mean, it's not. It's certainly not a city. It's still a town.
Right.
But no, there's a fair population.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. It's interesting. So that there may very well be a family of Bigfoots.
Right behind my house, and I saw him from about 30 feet away and shined a flashlight in his eyes. And that didn't make him very happy.
I bet it didn't.
Yeah. I think also this is a great time, after hearing that story, to have our listeners understand that Jason has been an expert in this field for many, many, many years. And frankly, for an amateur to go looking for Bigfoot is a very dangerous thing to do. If you don't have the outdoor experience, you don't have the experience with, wild animals, if you will, in their environment, it's a very dangerous thing to do. So to hear that there's a sighting of Bigfoot in Newmarket or any place local, we encourage our listeners not to put backpacks on and go looking. It's a very dangerous thing to do. And frankly, when you put yourself in danger like that, you put other lives in danger, the rescue people that have to come get you and everything else. So without going through all of that, we certainly don't encourage anybody. But if you have a question, Jason, would you mind if they emailed me at paranormalnh@yahoo.com with questions about Bigfoot, which I'll be happy to forward to Jason, and that Jason can answer you through that email of paranormalnh. I'm sure that he'd be happy to chat with you if he has the time, but we really would filter it all through Paranormal NH so we can control the flow of questions and so forth, Jason. Is that all right with you, Jason?
Oh, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Good.
The only thing that I love more about trying to rediscover this thing myself is teaching other people some of the things that I've discovered. I enjoy that very much, and I would be happy to do that.
That's great. Thank you so much.
I just want to warn everybody one other thing. Bob brought up a good point about safety in the woods, okay? So we live here in the great New England North Country, okay? Folks, we got a little wake-up call for you. We do have quick mud, especially after the winter we just had. Forget about animals. You get stuck in that stuff, you may not be found again. So you need to
Yeah.
acknowledge where you're at and always be careful walking in the woods. Not only that, we also have northern rattlers too. You don't accidentally step on one of those.
Yeah, it's never good to go into the wilderness if you don't have wilderness training. It's that simple. We're all researchers at heart, I think, and certainly the White Mountains and all of northern New Hampshire is just spectacular. One of my favorite places, North Conway. But again, you cannot just put a backpack on and walk into the woods and expect to not have problems, because you are going to have problems. So again, you ask the right questions to the right people. You just heard Jason admirably say, I love to educate people to this. So he'll answer any questions that you have. And that's my advice to our listeners. This is the kind of individual that's offering up his services that you want to take advantage of. So again, one more time, Paranormal NH, one word, no spaces, no caps, at yahoo.com. And Jason will answer your answers, and I'll get them back to you.
Now, I would just love to add that, we have such a diverse amount of creatures in our forests. We have black bears that can be very dangerous. We have moose that can be even more dangerous. I mean, deer can be dangerous. Bobcat.
Sure.
Just don't take, to all the listeners out there, don't take any of that for granted, because some of these things don't care, and they will hurt you. And I don't want to see that happen, frankly.
No, me neither.
Yeah, nobody does. Nobody does. And the other thing is the unknown question is there may be species out there we have no clue of. Just like the ocean. I'm convinced that someday, in the near future, I hope, but someday they'll find creatures that are in the ocean that we haven't heard of in thousands of years are still existing. So we don't know what's out deep in the mountains, where maybe people have never been before. I read a stat one time, Jason, that there has been virtually millions and millions of acres, especially in the Great Northwest, that humans have never been into. And I think to myself when I hear that, wow, in this day and age, to think there are places this close that humans have never been into. So how do we say what exists in there?
And what doesn't?
And what doesn't? There you go. So, listen, Jason.
That's 100% the main question that we're all asking.
Yeah, we sure are. Well, listen, you've been a great guest, as usual. You never disappoint, for sure. You and I are meeting up this week.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen you for a while, brother.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, my friend. You take care, and thank you so much. You've been a great guest.
I want to thank everybody thank Jason, first of all, for coming on. I want to thank everybody who's tuned in across the great ocean. This was our 53rd episode, so check out 52 other episodes on Lawrence Community Access TV's YouTube page. And keep an eye out on the Essex County and Paranormal NH stuff. That the Essex County Ghost Project will have some upcoming ghost hunts. As the weather's starting to warm up, we're starting to plan them for April, May, June, and July. We already got stuff booked in October, Bob, so it's going to be another busy year coming up.
Yeah, a little tickler that we've got some big, and I mean big events coming up this year, which will be starting, well, pretty soon when the weather breaks. But we've got some big announcements and some kind of brand new events that I think people are going to be very excited about, that it's never been done before. Tom and I are working on it now with the team. And believe me, you'll be delighted with the events because it's never been done before. So we can't give any more than that right now, but we will as the season goes on.
Right. So I want to thank again everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody. Have a great
Good night,
evening.
everybody.
I'm heading
Night.
back to the crypt.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Night,
night.
Tom. Night,
Good
Bob.
night.